Customized chapter explanation, chapter 1, Balance in Nature. In this chapter, we will be studying some topics which are given at the beginning of the chapter. We will be studying what is an ecosystem, what is the meaning of flow of energy, and the food chain. And this topic is concerned with science, so most of the things are related to science topics. So let's start. This explains the difference between and what is the meaning of an ecosystem. It is the part of the earth where life exists and it is called the biosphere. The part of the earth where life exists, it is called the biosphere, and the biosphere is the place where living things live, and the place where the living things live, they are not only living, they are some non-living things also which live in a place. So what are the biosphere is made up of several units and they are called the ecosystem. So what is an ecosystem and what are the types? The ecosystems are of two types. They are natural and they are artificial ecosystem. So as the word explains, what is a natural ecosystem and what is an artificial ecosystem? The natural means which is found in nature, and artificial means which is not found in nature and man has made. So the two examples are given. Natural will be forest, artificial will be aquarium and garden which is man made. And what is the meaning of an ecosystem? It is a functional system of community and its environment, and we get our food and obtain our natural things from the environment. What are the components of ecosystem? The components of ecosystem means those things which make up the ecosystem. They are the abiotic components. Now abiotic means the organic, the abiotic, living and non-living. So let us see them. So abiotic component includes organic substance which contain organic substances like carbohydrates which contain carbon compound. They are the organic substances. The second type of components of the ecosystem are the inorganic components. So in higher class you will study about the two types of ecosystems or science: organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry. In organic chemistry you will study about the minerals. So organic components which we read now, they are containing the carbon related compounds, carbohydrate, proteins. Inorganic means the minerals which are found as nitrogen, oxygen, water vapor, etc. Then the physical factors of the environment, they are the different climatic factors, physical factors. So they are temperature, humidity, rainfall and wind. And fourth are the adaptive factors. So abiotic components are three types: organic, inorganic, physical and adaptive. The inorganic component contain minerals like nitrogen, oxygen, water vapor. Organic contain carbon, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen. Physical factors include temperature, rainfall, and adaptive factors are related to the soil. Now the living factors. The biotic components contain living components which are animals and plants and microbes. So ecosystem is not only made up of living things but also made up of non-living things as well as the smaller organisms. So biotic components are the living components which include plant, animals and microbes. They include producers, consumers and decomposers. All of these are interdependent and they depend on each other. So what are producers? In previous junior classes you have studied producers are the organisms who can produce their food. So plants are the producers, they are also called autotrophs. So they are the green plants. They produce the food with the help of sunlight. And the second type of components are the consumers. They are the organisms which consume the food. They are the animals. So these are the two consumers or heterotrophic components. They include all the animals which feed directly or indirectly. Directly means the animals who will directly eat the plants, and indirectly means the animals who eat other animals, smaller animals who are eating the plants. The consumers can be classified into herbivores and carnivores. Herbivores, they are animals which obtain food from plants. They are the sheep, goat, cattle. They eat the plants directly. Second type are the carnivores. They are lion, tiger who eat the smaller animals as their food. So these are the two types basically, producers and consumers. Then the third important component of the ecosystem are the decomposers. So what are decomposers? They are the organisms which are called the saprotrophs, also called the saprophytes. They are heterotrophs, microorganisms which feed on the dead and decomposing matter. By decomposing, they are the decomposers. They include bacteria and fungi, and they are also called saprotrophs because they release inorganic substances by decomposition and helps in recycling. So their work is to decompose the dead waste. Producers produce the food, and carnivores or the heterotrophs consume the food, and decomposers decompose the waste. And in this process, when one is producing the food and the other one is using, there is a flow of energy. So plants produce the food which are eaten by the animal or the humans, and then when they produce waste or they die, they are decomposed by the microbes or the decomposers. In this way, there is a flow of energy, which is you have studied in as the flow of energy, but here it is showing sun is energy from the sun is used by the plants. Plants are eaten by animals, and the energy flow takes place from plant to the animals to this. They are decomposed, and the decomposers then release the energy back into the air. So this is a process which is the flowing of energy. The flow of energy is one of the major functions of the ecosystem. It occurs at all the levels, and it starts from the sun. So sun is called the reservoir of energy, and the plant herbivores obtain energy from the sun. You have studied that plants use the energy of the sun. This energy is then used by the animals who eat them. So sun's energy is used by plants. The plants use only 1/10 of the energy. Now this is an important factor. All the energy of the sun cannot be used by plants. They use only 1/10. This 1/10 energy which is stored is utilized because plants use this energy to grow, and most of the energy is not used. This energy is lost. The plants which have produced the food, they produce the food for themselves. Then this energy which is produced by the plants is stored in the plant, and these plants are eaten by animals or the herbivores, and the energy which was produced by plant enters the animals. But this flow of energy again decreases. So there is a 10% flow of energy. So energy from the plant enters the animal, and from it is transferred from producers to herbivores. Producers means plants, herbivores means the consumers. The animals use some energy, and then these animals are further eaten by the carnivores. The carnivores eat herbivores, and the energy stored on them is transferred to the carnivores. This energy is also used for carrying out metabolic activities and maintaining growth. So this is how energy flow takes place. The role of decomposers starts now. The carnivores eat the food, animals eat the food, plants you prepare. When these produce waste or they die, then the decomposers decompose the waste. The energy from carnivore, herbivore and plant is used by the decomposers and finally it is released into the environment. The plants again use this energy and the flow of energy continues. The heat which is unutilized is continuously released at all the levels and is called the community heat. So community heat means the heat which is produced by all the living organisms. In the whole process of transfer of energy in a food, 10% of the energy flows from one level to another level. One level to another level means like sun. From sun the energy enters the plant, from plant it enters the animal. So when this energy enters from one organism to another, there is only 10% energy used, remaining energy is lost. So in a food chain which is described here, food chain is a concept which explains the nutritional interdependence. Every organism is dependent on each other. It can rightly be defined as the series of organisms. So this is definition of food chain. Series of organisms through which energy is transferred or the transfer of food takes place from the plant through herbivore to carnivore is called the food chain. So food chain concept you have studied earlier. So this is explaining that there is an example given here. From the sun energy is used by producers, the plants who produce the food. These are eaten by animal which is a consumer. This is a herbivore. This herbivore is then eaten by a consumer or it is eaten after the death which is the scavenger. So this is the flow of energy which is deciding the food chain. And each organism which is part of this food chain is said to be a trophic level. The trophic levels are the various steps that occur in a food chain. These are the levels which are mentioned. And food produced by green plants is consumed by herbivores, which in turn are consumed by carnivores. So the producers from the first level, this is the first level, herbivores the second, and carnivores the third, and so on. So if there is a higher organism who will eat this, then it will be a next level. A food chain may be a simple food chain or a complex food chain. A simple food chain will have only two levels, plants and microbes. A complex food chain will have many levels like which exist in ocean, pond or grassland. There will be different organisms in between. So there is example of a pond. In a pond, the first level, pond means the water animals, the animals who live in the water, they will be, they animals will be eating the food produced by plants who are growing in the water. So pond ecosystem, the first level is the producer, which include phytoplankton, the algae. The second level are the primary consumers, the herbivores. The phytoplankton are the plants who live in the water. They grow, then they are eaten by herbivores, which includes zooplankton like insects, larvae. Third level are the secondary consumer, which includes small fishes. And then next will come the big fishes. So this is the food chain which is mentioned here. Phytoplankton, zooplankton, small fish, large fish, and then microbe. Why microbe is in the end? Because it is using all the waste, it will decompose all the dead one. When this energy will flow, the energy will flow and end in the fish, which will end in the microbe. So therefore microbes are considered very important component of a food chain. Then is the grassland ecosystem. A grassland ecosystem has grass, it is shown here. You can see there is a grass mentioned. Then this grass is eaten by a fly, then it is eaten by a fly is eaten by a toad, eaten by a snake, eaten by eagle, and then again in the end there is a decomposer. So pond ecosystem will be the system which is found in the pond, and grassland ecosystem is found in the land, which will include, this is one example, include, and it is ending with microbe again. So when there are single, this is a single food chain, but when many food chains occur together, then it is called a food web. This is a complex organism where you are seeing blue arrows are showing that if you see there is an insect shown here, there is a fish shown here, there is there are other animals shown here which are decomposed, so they are eaten by a bigger animal, eaten by another one. This may be eaten by another animal. This may be eaten by bigger animal. This may be eaten by an insect. So there it is a food web. Food web is a complex network formed in an ecosystem. Complex means there are various food chains. Various food chains in a food web are linked together and they interact with each other. So it is a system of various food chains. It contains organisms which may be eaten at several levels or which can perform the role of a consumer. Consumer will be the animal who is eating other animal who is eating other subtrophic level animal. So that is a food web. And in a food web and a food chain, there is some difference. So this difference between food chain and food web is, in a food chain, it is a network of organism, and network of food chain. This is will have a single food chain, and a food web will have many food chains. A food chain represents transfer of energy at various levels. There are different levels, and it represents relation between different levels. There are many levels in this. Many organisms are there. There is only one organism at one level, and it will have many organisms, which we have seen in the diagram. A food chain always begins with producer. The food chain will start with plants, but a food web, no such beginning is there. It can start with fish, it can start with plant, it can start with a smaller animal and bigger animal and big animal. So this is the difference between the two. So why are ecosystems important? There has to be a perfect balance in the number of organisms in the proportion. Food chain and food webs help in achieving a balance between the biotic component. There has to be a perfect balance between the living and non-living. For a better living, it is very important to maintain the quality of the physical environment by keeping it free from contamination. So what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem must be kept clean, and in reality, ecological balance has to be maintained. So when we talk about the ecosystem, we have to understand that there has to be ecological balance, which is the balance existing between the living organisms and its the non-living organism. So in every ecosystem, there has to be a balance between living and non-living organisms. But one of the major factors which does not allow a perfect balance is the rising human population. So we talk about balance, but it is not maintained because of the population. As the population will increase, to satisfy the need of the increasing population, man has destroyed and exploited the natural resources. There is no area left which has been untouched. So everywhere the human effect is there, which affects the ecosystem. Forests have been cut down, wood grazing and building purposes, animals have been killed. There is a continuous demand of coal and petroleum, which have already exceeded the limits, has led to the depletion. So, ecosystem which contains living and non-living things, there is a disbalance between them. Excessive use of chemical and pollution of air, water and soil are also causes of creating the disturbance. So man's effect has disturbed the nature. All the above activities have led to ecological crisis. it is caused because of the global warming. So global warming is a concept which you have studied in science also. It has caused depletion of ozone layer, soil erosion, flood, melting of polar ice caps, etc. So these are all in which human effect is the main reason. Plant and animal effect will not be there. So it is quite unfortunate that human activities have upset the ecological balance in nature. Today, the most important topic under consideration is how to regain the environmental harmony, balance. So all living organisms, including humans, are very dependent on the environment. A balanced ecosystem is very important for our existence. So human beings will exist if there is a balance. If there is no balance, then the human being's existence will also will be impossible. It will not remain possible, and it will be some time will come when the humans population will be destroyed. So we have completed this. In the next part there are fill in the blanks. The decomposers are also called the saprotrophs or saprophytes. Decomposers are important, so let's do the fill in the blanks quickly. Soil and its conditions are included in the adipic factors. We read it just now that adipic factor describes the soil. Plants convert this energy into this energy. So they convert solar energy into chemical energy. Food chain and food webs help in achieving the balance in nature. Food chain and food web achieve balance, and humans are highly dependent on the environment, which is a part of ecosystem. So we are totally dependent on the ecosystem. So you have to fill in the blank that humans are highly dependent on the environment. Then producers, this is true and false. Is it true that producers receive their energy from the consumers? Do the producers receive energy or the consumer? So this is a false sentence. There are two types of ecosystem, artificial and natural. We read this. What is an example of a natural ecosystem? The forest. And artificial is the aquarium, or the aquarium is an example of artificial, and then there is a park or a small area. In the process of transfer of energy, whole energy is transferred, so it never happens. Whenever the energy transfer will take place, there will be some energy which will be lost. So this sentence is false. Food web is a network of organisms, while a food chain is a network of food webs. Food web has organisms, food chain has food webs. So this is false. Food web is a network of many food chains. So therefore this sentence is wrong. Biosphere is a part of the earth where life exists. Biosphere is a part of earth where life exists. Is it true or false? So this is true, because it is a part of earth where life is found. So this sentence is true. So with that we complete. In the next class we will do chapter 2 of this environmental studies. So stay connected and see you in the next class.